Hey everyone, Cleo here, welcome to my channel and welcome to my first TBR for the year. So Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you will have the best time in 2019, that you may stick to your goals and resolutions and have a wonderful time with friends and families, and most importantly that in rough times you find a listening ear amongst your friends and family. Now the January TBR is very much inspired by one of my goals for 2019, which is to bring more fun to my reading. So I feel like I'm mostly, like in 2018 and previous years as well, I've been too focused on like hitting the reading goal and reading diversely, very diversely, but mostly that means like not just reading stuff that I enjoy reading, but also reading stuff that I feel like is worth reading. And I don't want to emphasize that too much this year. You know, I definitely love reading stuff that I feel is worth reading as well. However, I don't want to like be struggling through stuff that I don't necessarily enjoy too much while reading it, just because I feel like, yeah, it's an important read, I need to get to it, or I need to have some literary fiction in there as well. So one of my goals is to try and DNF more. So in January I've definitely gone for a lot of books that in my opinion will be like, I will fly through them, I'm sure. I have also tried to keep it realistic. However, it might also turn out to be super unrealistic. It'll depend on one book mainly. First book that I'm going to mention is a book that I read 2/3 of already in 2018. So this is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. I'm having a bit of trouble getting through it. So it's a story about, so we follow this ex-prisoner called Dr. Manette, who was imprisoned in France, and he's reunited with his daughter at the beginning of the book, and they return to England. I must basically say that is so far the story, I think. But so yeah, I'm going to continue reading this while listening to the audiobook, just to focus my mind a bit, because I'm having some difficulties with this one. But so yeah, since I'm already 2/3 of the way in, I do want to finish this one. I do also normally like Charles Dickens. I do like his language and the way he writes, so that I have been enjoying. However, I do feel like this story is a little bit on the flimsy side, but I might be missing something, so I don't know. But in any case, this is the first book that I'm going to be finishing because it's my leftover from 2018. I should have finished it in 2018 but didn't get to it. So this is my goal, very much my goal for January, to finish this. But so yeah, my idea is basically actually to just read a chapter a day before going to bed, and that way finish this book. And if I get back into it, then of course I can up this amount, but just with a chapter a day I'm pretty sure I can easily get to it by the end of the month. So that's my goal for that one. And then currently on the commute I'm reading Edge Dancer by Brandon Sanderson. I started this yesterday and I'm on page 100 now. So it is a novella, so it's 268 pages, so I'll get through this pretty quick. So in case you didn't know, this is a Stormlight Archive novella, so you do preferably you have read books 1 and 2 of the Stormlight Archive, so The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance. Because we follow a character that we were introduced in Words of Radiance, I think, and actually the prologue to this book is the chapter that we got in Words of Radiance. But so we follow her story. There are hints already to like the events from the other books in there, but so it's the idea that you read this between book 2 and book 3, which is what I will be doing. So the next one on there is not a surprise, I guess, but that is Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson, so book 3 in the Stormlight Archive series. As you can tell, it's a ginormous book. It is size of my head, almost the same thickness as well, so it is somewhere in the 1200 range. But I flew through book number 2, which I have it in a shorter format, but it is 1300 pages in that one. I flew through that in 2 weeks, so I'm hoping to have that repeated in this instance. Of course, I can be totally wrong, and then I'm gonna be overshooting my TBR again, but I feel like it should be manageable to finish this in the month of January, considering the way I'm going through those books. I'm not gonna give you a lot of a premise for the Stormlight Archive, because I feel like it is a book you need to go in kind of blind, just because it's very complex to describe. But so basically we are following a couple of different characters in a world in which there used to be these sort of heroes called the Night Radiants, who protected humanity and things from the Voidbringers, which is a sort of like demon presence. And at one point they disappeared, they kind of left their post, it seems. And so that is a backdrop, and basically what we're getting hints at a return of possibly Night Radiants or Radiants in any case. And so we follow multiple perspectives, but not all of them are potential Radiants. And yeah, I'm not giving more of that. But so it is very interesting in my opinion, also because it does what Brandon Sanderson does a lot. It's like it's combine, it shows us different storylines which all interconnect in the end. So I think at the beginning of the first book we are introduced to 4 different characters who have nothing in common with each other. They are not in the same place, they are not from the same place, most of them don't have the same profession, or not at the moment, and things like that. And we slowly see them interacting together. So at the beginning of book 1 I think you get the first introduction between 2 of these characters. But so this is going to continue on through the series, I'm guessing. And I'm very much looking forward to continuing this series. I don't think the 4th one is going to be for 2019. I mean, Brandon Sanderson brings out a book every year, but I don't think one for this series is coming out. However, I really do want to get going on this, because I just need to know what happens. And I've waited for so long because I wanted this in the same edition as I have for the other ones. But that edition is only coming out in August. And so in the end I did go for this one, because I said like, no way am I gonna wait around when book 4 comes around for that edition. So I'll either have to like buy it in an ebook just to already immediately read it and then afterwards get the edition that I want, or I can just like switch editions at this point. I just have 2 in the wrong edition. I can always, if I want to, change editions for those 2. Now, as you can probably tell, this is like a super floppy paperback, which is something that I absolutely love. The only thing that I don't like is the size of it. I like a smaller paperback, but okay, fine. And then the final book that I have in here is a book that I don't necessarily want to finish in January. If it happens, sure, but it's mostly like a book that I want to have on the back burner to kind of like read when I'm not feeling like reading any of the others, if that were to happen for Brandon Sanderson, or that I want to start if I'm finished with the other ones. And that is a non-fiction, and it is The Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson, which is a somewhat scientific non-fiction book about, I'm guessing, nearly everything. I very much like Bill Bryson's writing style, but I have had mixed experiences. So I read a book about that he wrote. So I read like a travel story by him, which I very much liked, and then I read a like a book about the origin of American English versus British English, and that one I didn't finish. But so I'm hoping that this subject will already be a lot more. I can imagine you being able to do a lot more with this subject matter than you can do with American English versus British English. So I'm gonna be starting this one hopefully in January, and then I'll be spreading this throughout the months, I guess. And then actually the idea is, if I have room for it, I will just pick up whatever book I want. So my idea for my TBRs in 2019 is more or less to keep them somewhat realistic, not necessarily try to fit my entire month, fill my entire month. And then if I have time left, I will just pick up whatever I'm in the mood for at that point. And so I don't need to feel like, yeah, but I still need to get to this one because it was on my TBR. I'll just say like, okay, so for example, for this month, if I'm done with Oathbringer, then I'll just take whatever book is popping in mind at that moment, most likely fantasy, because I have a couple of YA fantasies that are on my radar at the moment. And then but I don't want to commit to any of them at this moment. I don't want to make that decision at this moment. I'll make that decision if I get through these books by the end of January. But so yeah, definitely look forward to my wrap up in January. I'm also very curious to see how my reading process will be, the progress will be this month. I do have to say, in the January 2018, I only read one book, which was A Way of Kings, so #1 in the Stormlight Archive, so it was pretty thick, but still. I'm hoping to get a head start in 2019 and get going on those reading statistics. But so yeah, in any case, please let me know if you've read any of these, if you're a fellow Brandon Sanderson fan, if you've read Oathbringer or Edge Dancer. Do not spoil anything, please. But for the rest, please let me know anything about this. And if you've read a Brandon Sanderson that you want to recommend to me, definitely go ahead. I've read a couple, but definitely not all of his work. I've read The Mistborn, Stormlight Archive, Legion, and then The Emperor's Soul, I guess. Yeah, so shoot. See, until next time, and if you've liked this video, definitely don't forget to like it or subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, because it will definitely help my channel out a lot. So see ya!